Okay, I think that perhaps now's a good time to get started. Hello, everyone. My name is Tara Shaquin. I'm the Member Relations Director for the Thunder Bay Chamber of Commerce. Thank you so much for registering today. Joining us for this presentation, actually conducting this presentation, is Penny Belluz, Director of Operations for Teleco. She very kindly agreed to do this for our members, and non-members were welcome as well. In terms of the format for today, Penny will do a presentation. Throughout the presentation, we will have polls. We welcome you to respond to those so that we have an idea of what your thought process is for a number of things along the way. At the end of the presentation, you're invited to ask questions. You can ask questions throughout, but we won't answer them until the end. If you could submit your questions via chat, I will read them out at the end, and Penny will answer them. If we run out of time, you can take the questions offline, or I can share your questions with Penny, and then she can reach out to you, or you can reach out to her after the presentation. Please, everyone, also know that we will have this presentation available on our website when it is completed for you to rewatch, and some supporting documents that are going to be supplied by Penny. And I think on that note, we will invite Penny to begin.
Wonderful. Thanks very much, Tara. And thank you for the Chamber for the opportunity to discuss cybersecurity, especially during this time of COVID. So again, thank you for the introduction, Tara. I am Penny Belluz. I am the Director of Operations for Teleco. We're very passionate about bringing knowledge to our community, whether it's regarding cloud or IT or cybersecurity. So I'm really grateful for the opportunity to take this lunchtime with all of you, and also answer any questions you may have at the end. I am the Director of Operations. I have been with Teleco for a while, since 1996. I will have some documents as well, like Tara mentioned, that we can put on the website for you. And also I encourage anyone to reach out to me directly, either through my email, penny.belluz@teleco.ca. You can also get that information off of our website, teleco.ca, if you didn't catch my email. So this afternoon at lunch, we're going to talk about cybersecurity and small business and what that means to you. We're going to talk about COVID-19 and how that impacts cybersecurity. Want to address how it can affect you, how it can affect you personally, and how it can also affect your business or your company. And also want you to have some real takeaways that you can leave this afternoon and implement some things just to make you a little bit more cyber aware. Without really having to outlay any capital. You know, there's just some things that once you're aware of, you can start implementing and using that to protect you and also protect your business. Again, poll questions. So just to make it a little bit more interactive, we've put some poll questions in the webinar, which we'll stop and ask. And it's really just an opportunity to share where you are in your cybersecurity journey and see where each other is as well. And it will be anonymous, so no one's going to know what you said to a question, but it really just gives us an idea of the people who are on the call, where they are in their cybersecurity journey. I, again, will provide those reference documents to you. My email is penny.belluz@teleco.ca. I welcome anyone to contact me at any time. And our website is teleco.ca. So the big question, what is cybersecurity? So a lot of people hear that term, but really aren't sure what exactly, does that mean, and what exactly does that entail? And really, the important thing about cybersecurity in the definition is that it's not just the technology that's important. It's also your people. So it's the people, the processes, and the technology that all work together to protect your organization and your individuals from digital attacks. And it's important to remember that people aspects. It's your human operating system of your organization that really is just as important as the technology that you implement. You can't just put in some technology hardware and say, okay, my cybersecurity is taken care of, I'm okay. You really have to look at it with your people, the processes you have in place, and then also bringing in technology with it. Very much like if you had an alarm system for your building. So when you leave at the end of the day, you turn your alarm system on and you're protected. You can buy the best alarm system out there, but if that employee doesn't turn it on at the end of the day, it's not going to work for you. So just like your alarm system, you need the technology, but you also need that human element to utilize it. So our first poll question is, are you currently concerned about cybersecurity and its impact? And that could be professionally and personally as well. Okay, so we have a few people who have already answered, and it looks like so far 100% yes, which is good. I mean, people should definitely be concerned about cybersecurity. So we'll just leave it open for a couple more seconds. Oh, that's great. Thank you, Tara.
Okay.
So 100% have said that yes, absolutely, cybersecurity, is a concern both personally and professionally. So you hear about the dark web and it sounds bad, but do you really know what the dark web is? The dark web is really a part of the internet that you can't Google. So it's not going to be something that you're going to accidentally stumble upon by accident and all of a sudden you're on the dark web. If you're on the dark web, you know what you're doing and you know how to get there. A really great slide that I share, even when I go in and talk to the kids at Tech Week in the schools, is this slide. And it really captures for us, how much of the internet we actually only use. So the surface web, which is what we go to for our Googling and our Facebook and our social media, our shopping, all of that surface web is only 10% of the internet. So we're only using 10% for what we feel is the majority of our traffic. The deep web is anything below that, so the other 90% of the internet. And the dark web refers to any web page that has been intentionally concealed to hide in plain sight, so you can't Google it, or reside within a separate but public layer of the standard internet. And a good way to think about that is perhaps you've written a blog for your website and you're not quite done yet. So it's there, but it hasn't been published to the site. So you have it on the internet, but it's not published. So even though it's on the public internet, you can't go to it unless you know the exact URL. So the next question is, do you think that you or any of your employees have exposed credentials on the dark web right now for purchase? And Tara, if you could be so kind to put that poll back up for us.
Yep.
So the dark web puts out their credentials. There's usernames for logins and passwords, and they're for sale. And people will want to buy them so that they can use your login and password information and try to hack into other areas. So our poll results show about half and half. Oh, so we got about 57% said yes and 43% said no. So that's great. So we're kind of like a little bit of a mixed crowd there. So one of the services that we do provide at Teleco is dark web monitoring. So we will monitor a company's domain, and anytime a credential becomes available on the dark web to purchase, you would get notified to let you know that this email has been on the dark web, it's available for purchase, this is the password, you need to go speak to that employee so that they can go in and change their password. So this is a recent dark web scan. I just did it yesterday to make sure that it was accurate, and these are actual Teleco credentials that are available for sale on the dark web. And for everybody who's participating in this webinar today, I will do a free dark web scan for you. So you just need to email me or email Tara, and I will run your domain name for your company, and we'll see what sort of information is out there. And you can even see on there that I'm on there. So there is a credential for me that's available on the dark web. So it shows in my scan that it was found on January 14th, 2020. It has my Teleco email address, penny.belluz@teleco.ca. And for the purpose of the scan, it will show the first couple digits of the password that's available, but the whole password is there for someone to purchase. But for the scanning, it just shows us the first 5 digits. When you subscribe to the service, you actually get the full password. So you wouldn't get, you can see mine says under password hit, it says Max. Well, Max is actually my dog's name. So as soon as I saw that, I'm like, okay, well, that's accurate, because I used to use his name for a lot of different login things. Now, I no longer do that. So this, I know for sure, is an old credential, because we use a password manager with 2FA, and I know that all my passwords are unique and different for every site. So whatever this credential is that is available for sale on the dark web is old, and it's not going to cause me any harm. And I can also tell by looking through my list of employees that got hit, they no longer work for us and they're removed off of our network. But if, for example, Gareth still worked for me, I would immediately go and talk to him and say, Gareth, you know, this credential is available with this password. I need you to change the password right away. And please make sure that you are not using that same password for anything else. So again, very important information. You get notified right away. You get a health score every month of where you are. And it just allows you to react quickly and make sure that if someone does get a credential, they can't use that then to try to get into other login, like your banking information or a vendor account or something like that. That would not be good. So with cyber security and cyber crime, believe it or not, cybercrime is now the largest of all other forms of organized crime combined. Cybercrime is the world's biggest criminal growth industry. We're going to hear a lot about it. The toll from cybercrime is expected to surpass $6 trillion in the next few years. It's more profitable than the combined global trade of all illegal drugs, and it also represents the greatest transfer of economic wealth in history. It's huge, and it's very easy to hide behind, and it's global. It's not something that's just happening here in Thunder Bay to other Thunder Bay people. It's global. So what does that mean? Why should we care? Why should I care? Well, as small business owners, we're responsible for establishing a growing business. And this means that we often have to wear many hats. I wear my HR hat, I wear my marketing hat, I have to wear my IT hat. And because of that, small businesses sometimes will overlook the security function, or you focus on what you know and what you're good at. And the reality is that cyber criminals don't discriminate by size. And the aftermath of an attack can really devastate a small business. The reality is that we are a target. Small business is a target. We lack funds sometimes, so we can't afford the top of the line technology or whatever. We're just not really sure what to get. Or we just don't prioritize those funds. There's other things that break or need our allocating of funds to. And also lack of resources. You know, small business, we wear those many hats. We don't have an IT department that we can rely on. Often small business has aging equipment that hasn't been updated or patched devices. Small business lack training. A lot of small businesses aren't investing in their employees to train them on cybersecurity. Or policies. They don't have policies on what happens when you bring your own device into the network at the company. What happens when you use public Wi-Fi? What's our policy on that? What is our policy at working at home? A lot of small businesses, they just haven't created that. And also, we're a target because we are a link to big fish. And what that really means is that in today's market, we're all digitally connected now. We're digitally connected to each other to complete transactions, manage supply chains, share information, order, vendor ordering. So larger companies, although not necessarily maybe harder to hack, they are a little bit tougher to penetrate. And so hackers will target smaller partners as a way to get into the larger company. And that's exactly, what's been happening. So on the news, there's been cyber attacks with Equifax, Marriott. A very public one was Target. And that was a while back, but it's still getting a lot of publicity. And that was back in 2013. And basically what happened was it was a small HVAC vendor. I think they had 4 or 5 employees. So we're talking small business. And they were attacked by a threat actor who was able to get the login credentials for them to get into Target. And from that, they were able to get into Target's network and they were able to basically install an appliance that was able to, for 1 month, not get detected and acquire all of the credit card information and successfully basically hack their system. And that cost Target a little over $15 million. And that all came from small business. So that stepping stone from a small fish to a large fish is a really easy way for cyber criminals to get access to larger enterprise networks. A lot of times we hear, well, I don't think there's any cyber incidents happening, or I haven't heard of anything in Thunder Bay. Well, I can tell you that it's happening, and it's happening a lot. And unfortunately, we don't hear about it because A, it may not be newsworthy. The ransomware attack may have been $5,000, it may have been $10,000, but they had cyber insurance, so the cyber insurance covered it. Small business often don't want to admit it. It's kind of embarrassing to know that you had a breach and that some information, was kept captive until you paid the ransomware and got it back. So they don't really want to admit that. So it's kind of bad publicity too, to be talking about that. And there's also legal ramifications as well. So, by talking about it, a lot of small businesses are a little concerned, like, well, maybe I don't want people to know that because I don't know what the legal ramifications are. But it's definitely happening. There are a lot of real world examples. This is one in Ontario. It was the city of Stratford. They actually ended up agreeing to pay the attacker more than $75,000 worth in Bitcoin in exchange to get their information back. The city did have cyber insurance, so they were able to use that, but they were down for a while, and that has an impact on your business as well. So, you can Google, there's lots of different real world examples out there, but this one was fairly recent and quite significant as well. And the city of Stratford, I think they're like the third of the size of Thunder Bay. So, if it can happen to them, it can happen in our backyard as well. So the next slide is really another question. I'm just curious to see from the attendees, like, have you ever been a victim of a phishing email or a ransomware attack? I know especially at Christmas time, there was a lot of phishing emails that went out asking people to buy gift cards, Apple gift cards or Amazon gift cards. And that's really plausible because I know for us, we get asked to submit prizes and stuff for Christmas parties, and often I'll just pick up Tim's cards or local cards and put them in our Teleco cups and stuff and donate them to Christmas parties. So an email that looks like it comes from me to one of my coworkers to say, hey, can you run out and buy 10 Amazon cards for me for so-and-so's Christmas party, that sounds pretty plausible. And so unfortunately, a lot of local companies did get fished by that this holiday season. So the results of the poll do show, the question was, has your company been a victim or a phishing email or ransomware attack? And 67% said yes, and 33% said no. So thank you, Tara. So, what are the stats and facts? So I wanted just to give you guys a few, stats and details of what's really happening in the current environment, just to give you an idea of, what we're looking at. And the reality is that 62% of businesses experienced a phishing or social engineering attack in 2018. They didn't have the stats yet for 2019, unfortunately, but 2018, it's more than half at 62%. So that's quite shocking. Data breaches, meaning that your data is actually taken and provided to other people or exposed, 4.1 billion records in the first half of 2019. And if you're not familiar, you may have heard the term HIPAA. In Canada, we have PIPEDA, and PIPEDA really applies to private sector organizations in Canada that collect, use, and disclose personal information for commercial activity or healthcare. And that personal information may be credit card information. It could be my name, my age, my address, possibly my health card number if you keep that on file. It could be any personal information about me. And there are laws around that. If you are going to gather and hold that sort of information on your network, you are responsible for that. And if that information does get breached, you are financially going to have to cover that. You have to notify people. There's a whole list of things that you have to do. So that's very important. If you are collecting that sort of information, you definitely want to look up PIPEDA and find out what your legal obligation is to keep all of that information secure on your network. 1 in 5 small businesses will also suffer a cyber breach this year. 1 in 5 is a lot, and that's something that you really need to think about. And 95 of cybersecurity breaches are due to human error. So there's that human aspect again of your operating system. Cyber criminals and hackers will infiltrate your company through your weakest link. And if you think right now, who is your weakest link, that's what you should be developing your cybersecurity policy around. It's not just buying that antivirus and buying all that software and hardware to protect yourself. It's really about the human, because if it gets in, and we know right now that 95% of those cybersecurity breaches were due to human error. That's really what you need to focus on, is educating and training your employees so that they can recognize a phishing attempt or what's happening on your network so that they can mitigate it right away. And 43% of cyber attacks targeted small business. Medium business is in there as well. So it would have been higher if it included medium business, but 43% were small business. So our next question is, I want you to really think about how long can you run your business successfully without access to your data? If you experienced a ransomware attack today and your network was shut right down, how long can you run before you get that data back? And that's all your invoicing, possibly your purchase orders, service tickets. For us, it would be debilitating. We have everything that's on our network that runs our company. So if I need to give you a quote, I need to invoice you, I need to collect money, I would need to know who owes me money, I need to order stuff. All that history is in our system. So I would definitely, for me, my comfort level would be I need to get that back within a day. Other people, depending on the nature of your business, well, I can just write invoices. I'm transactional, it's retail. I can write out an invoice on a piece of paper. I'll make a note to follow up on that, and they're okay. But you need to ask yourself what your comfort level is so that you know when you're developing your cybersecurity resilience is how long can you go without getting that information back. And it looks like we have 67% said 1 week and 33% said 1 day. So that's great. It's great questions to ask yourself that. So, how is this happening? How are these threat actors attacking businesses? And there are many ways, but the two that I wanted to focus on today in relation to COVID-19 is social engineering and phishing attacks. So social engineering, what that is really, it's exploiting people. It's using people to play on our emotions and our human nature to help others. It's just our human nature to feel that, people are trusting and people are kind. And when you see that email, it has to be accurate. Why would they say that? So it's really social engineering. It's in the context of information security, and it refers to psychological manipulation of people to basically manipulate us into divulging confidential information. And one of the main ones that we see most often is with phishing, with a P, phishing. Now there's also vishing with a V, which is people who do telephone scams. But in our area, we're seeing a lot of phishing. So phishing is actually an attempt to obtain sensitive information from you, possibly your username, possibly a password, credit card details, anything like that, by disguising themselves as trustworthy. And so you provide that. It is one of the easiest forms of cyber attacks for criminals to carry out. And it can provide these crooks with really everything they need to know to infiltrate every aspect of your either personal life or your professional life. You have to be very careful on the information that you give out. Phishing is usually carried out over email, although now we see this scam has spread through to social media, messaging services that will call you and leave a message, and even apps. And you just have to be really careful of never handing over any of your passwords, just to make it easier for them, or even giving any type of like bank information. So amidst all this came along COVID-19. And with that, it's more important than ever to stay cyber strong. It's really unfortunate that these cyber threat actors seize on these adverse situations so they can achieve their criminal activity. All security centers in government and industries are reporting a significant spike in malicious activities to exploit the current coronavirus pandemic, or COVID-19, and are really feeding off people's fears and uncertainties. There's a lot of uncertainties. There's a lot of things that we don't know right now, and there's a lot we can't control. And these cyber criminals are feeding off of that. So with cybersecurity and COVID-19, it increases the risk. Why? Because now people are more vulnerable. They're going to feed off of that. And also, businesses had to quickly pivot and deploy a remote workforce. And it may have been something that they've never had to deploy before. So all of a sudden, quickly, they came in, oh, I have to get my workers working from home. Okay, let's just send everybody home with their laptops and we'll figure it out later. And that opened up a whole other different realm for cybersecurity by taking people who are usually on your network in your office to now going home. So with COVID-19, there is an increase in phishing emails by 667%. That's staggering. COVID-19 drove phishing emails up 667%. Malicious emails can be spoofed, and they can look so great. They can have original email addresses and embedded links that make it look like it's an authoritative source, like possibly the Center for Disease Control, the Mayo Clinic, the World Health Organization, or WHO. It looks legit. Like sometimes even I have to look at it twice, or we'll send stuff to our IT department if it gets through, and we're amazed at sometimes how good these emails will look. But clicking on these links or attachments will quickly infect unwary users with malware such as worms and trojans, rootkits or keyloggers and ransomware and so on. So you have to be very, very vigilant. So what do we do? How do we navigate these threats? We know they're out there. So what can I do as a business owner? What can I do personally to look out for myself and prevent this from happening? Well, one of the documents that I have for you to take away is a 15 ways checklist. And it's really a conversation starter on, where you are in protecting yourself with cybersecurity. And it's a great discussion piece for you to take and sit down with whoever your current managed service partner is, or your IT team or your IT person, whoever looks after your IT. Take that document and sit down with them and say, hey, you know what? I really want to understand where we are with our cybersecurity. Can you sit down with me and we'll just go over this list and check off everything that we're compliant with? Let's circle what we're not and put a plan together on how we can get from here to here. And it's just a great document for you to just be aware of what needs to be covered and where you are within that spectrum. So I'll make sure that that document is available for Tara to provide to you guys. And of course, you can always reach out to me and I can either go through it with you if you don't have a current IT person or MSP. We can definitely sit down and do that for you. And there's no charge for that. We'll sit down and see where you're currently at. But it's a wonderful document just to get that conversation started and seeing where you're at. Another highly effective thing that you can do is security awareness training. Any company who runs a security awareness training program, if you run it for 11 or more training courses with your team over 4 to 6 months, you will actually reduce phishing clicks by 65%. And we do it here. And when we first started it, it was interesting because we did catch a few people. So a really good security awareness training program has different components of it. So it has a webinar where your employees can click and take a training video, and it may be on phishing. And then what it can do is it will send out phishing emails to trick people, to train them. And so basically you're giving them the tools to put what they've learned into place. And if they do accidentally click on it, a pop-up will come up and say, this was a training exercise, you failed. We suggest that you take this training. And then as a manager or an owner, you'll get an email saying, Penny clicked on this email and she's gonna take the training over again. And you can go have that conversation to say, hey, yeah, it looks pretty real. This is what you need to look for. And they can even say, well, this is why I clicked on it. And it's better to learn in that environment than a real live phishing attempt where they click on it and now you're in a ransomware situation, having to get Bitcoin and trying to get your information back. So, I strongly recommend an investment in security awareness training. It's very cost effective. We know that 95% of cybersecurity breaches come from human error. So train your humans. It's easy as that. And not only will that help them in their professional life, but it also is going to help them in their personal life. Because when they go home and they're on Facebook and they're checking their email, they're still getting phishing attempts at home as well as in the office. So it really is a great tool that we can give to people to train them on how to handle themselves digitally. So it's very effective and it's really good. We also do cybersecurity. Well, we do sell security awareness training, but I'll also go in and just talk to employees about cybersecurity. And I'm offering for everybody on this webinar that I will come in for free and talk to your team. And I can basically just kind of overview, what cybersecurity is, what the dark web is, and what some of the responsibilities are, just to kind of open their eyes a little bit as to what the landscape looks at and looks like, and how they play such an important role in that. So anyone who would like me to come in and talk to their team, I'm more than happy to come in and do that. And I'll pick up some coffee and donuts and spend an hour just talking about cybersecurity. So don't hesitate to reach out to me if that's something you would like to have. So there are things that you can do as well to help protect yourself, definitely. So watch for these signs. This was an actual email that went out. It looks very accurate. It has the World Health Organization logo on it. Be wary of any unexpected or unsolicited email, especially when it stresses urgency. If it's telling you need to do something right away, that should be a red flag for you. And that it could be transfer money right away. We had an email that came through to our controller, and the controller had only been with us a month. So, he really didn't know us that well to know, what type of emails to expect from us. And he got an email saying it came from our president that he needed to transfer a large sum of money from one account to another. And thank goodness that this employee, through training, and even though he was new and he kind of thought, well, maybe I would be asked to do that, reached out to the president and said, do you really want me to transfer this money? And it was a phishing attempt. And we get calls from clients all the time that, unfortunately follow through and transfer those funds. So anything that's urgent, that should definitely be a red flag. Be also very wary of odd greetings or salutations. So if it comes through and it says, "Dear Sir," or "Dear Ma'am" or "Madam," that would be another giveaway that it's probably not meant for you. It's a mass target that went out. And also look for odd email addresses. Check out the email address itself. Often what they'll do is they'll spoof it and spell something different. So for instance, in Teleco, you could replace the L with a capital I, and it would look the same, very similar, or it would be spelt wrong. So, really look at that. And as a rule, do not open attachments if you're not expecting them. I don't. If someone sends me something that has an attachment and they never said they were sending me, I'll call and say, did you send me that attachment. Is that accurate? And it doesn't, it takes what, another 2 minutes to just double check that that did come from the sender directly before you open it. So this was one that was circulating, and the Canadian government put it out there warning people, that it was fake, and, please, don't fall for that. And what that was doing, it was actually having people click on the link, and then there was a pop-up window that would come up, and it would ask you for your personal information, like your email address and a password, in order to learn about, they said they needed it for your health information, but they were actually getting all that information and then unfortunately using it against you. This was another email example that did go out regarding COVID. Basically it said, "Dear all, this is a policy for us for COVID. Let's face it, I sent out a lot of emails to our staff about COVID and different policies for working together and not working together." So, those emails were circulating. But again, don't click on the embedded links. Always check the email address. Also be aware of bad grammar. Often there'll be things in there that just, it's not written how we would write it, because sometimes they'll come from different countries and they're struggling with the English language. So, check for grammar, check for spelling mistakes, and, just be skeptical. There was also texts that were going around. So be wary of that too. This was a fake text that, looks pretty official from Health Centre Canada. It says, "Hey, you received a transfer from the government due to the coronavirus pandemic. Click here to fill out your application." Well, that sounds great. A lot of people unfortunately weren't working. We all know that there were stipends that were being given out for COVID. My teenage son, I can see him thinking, "Oh, I need money. I'm going to click on that and fill it out." Thankfully, I've talked to them enough that they definitely wouldn't do that. But a lot of people, it looks valid and may click on that. So never click on the link. This was another one that was going out, circulating. In response to recent shortage of surgical masks, the Red Cross will be giving 1 free box per household. Click here to get yours. And again, that's a whole social engineering play. We're all feeling vulnerable. There was a shortage of masks originally, and hey, I'm going to get a free box. Great. Where do I sign up? If you see something like that and you want to know if there's value, instead of clicking on the link, go to the Red Cross site directly. If they were giving out free boxes of surgical masks, it'll be right on their website, or give them a call and just say, "Hey, I got a text. Are you guys offering a program right now for giving out free masks?" And that way you're just validating it, going to a different source, either through the website or by phoning, just to confirm that, yes. And often if it's too good to be true, just like my grandma used to say, if it's too good to be true, it probably is. So with remote workers, COVID-19 hit, and businesses had to really react quickly and move people out of the office to now work from home, which really introduced a whole other set of risks. And this brings me to our next question is, do you have employees, or are you now working remotely? For us at Teleco, Tara, while you put that up there, I can just say that, we definitely had to deploy people remotely. Our full sales team went remote. Our IT engineers all went remote. I went remote as well. And now I come into the office for about 2 days a week. So in our office, we have our inventory manager who works in our back warehouse. We have our dispatch girl who has her own area that she works in. And then either myself or Ryan, as partners of the company, we'll come in and be working in the office. So, and we also have a girl that does all of our accounts payable, receivable and stuff. And so she's in a separate office. So everyone else, though, there's 21 of us, everyone else had to all of a sudden go remote. So great. So everybody here on the call, we have 100%, either you or your team are all working remotely. Thanks, Tara. So with that, we have another checklist, and we provided this to so many people and have gotten great feedback on it. And this will be available to all of you as well. And with 100% of you working remote, it's something that you're definitely going to want to take a look through. And basically, it allows you to take a look to see, where we're at. Yeah, we have this. No, we don't have that. Even a suggestion of, if you're going to move back to the office or you're moving remotely, take a picture of your computer setup. You know, where are all the cables plugged into? It seems really simple when you're in the office and you unplug everything, but then you put it all in a box and you go home and it's like, oh, okay, yeah, how does all this go back together? So even the simple step of take a picture of how everything's set up so that when you go home and you're setting it all back up again, you know where everything goes. And vice versa, when you're ready to move back into the office, take a picture of everything. And that way, when you move back, you'll remember where everything has to get plugged in. So it has that on there, but it also talks about your VPN, talks about your backups, it talks about the security. So again, take that checklist and sit down with your IT person or your MSP and just say, hey, you know what, I had to deploy everybody quickly. I'm really not sure where everybody is. Can I just go through this list with you for each person working at home and make sure I don't have any gaps in my security? And that will be a good knowledge base for you to see where your holes are and what you need to close up. So some initial immediate things that you can address, you know, if possible, only use a laptop or a computer that has been provided to you by your work. A work issued laptop is most likely to have more robust security safeguards than a personal computer or maybe your kid's gaming computer. So if you can use a work issued unit, use an approved secure remote access connection to your office, a VPN. This should be encrypted. And if you don't have that, then you can talk to somebody to get that set up because that's definitely very important. You also want to make sure that all your available software and your security updates and patches have been completed. You want to make sure that your anti-malware is up to date. You definitely do not want to disable any security safeguards that have been put in place. Like, don't disable your anti-malware or your endpoint firewalls. And when you do have a remote session connected, it is possible that if you accidentally clicked on something malicious, when you have that remote connection open, your computer can act as a bridge to infect your organization's network. So if you are browsing the web while connected to the office for personal reasons, and you accidentally click on something, that can then backload into the network of your office and cause problems. So we recommend, if you're going to don't browse the web for personal reasons on your company laptop or computer. And if you have to leave your computer and walk away, or you're going for lunch, or you're taking a break, make sure you lock it and close any remote sessions. You don't need to have that open while you're gone for lunch. When you come back for lunch, you can unlock it and then connect again back to the office. We also recommend that you avoid using public Wi-Fi for conducting work in public places. Public Wi-Fi is inherently less secure than your personal private one because you don't really know who set it up or who else is connected to it. The person sitting beside you in the coffee shop could be a hacker and getting onto your computer and taking all your stuff. So ideally, we don't want to use it, and you're actually better off to use your smartphone as a hotspot instead. I would definitely choose that over public Wi-Fi if you're doing work. It's just that much more secure. So what are the red flags of a potential compromise? Depending on the nature of the attack, you may not know. However, there are some signs that you can definitely watch out for. Maybe your computer all of a sudden became super slow. Like, it takes forever to load a web page, where prior you could open up a page and it would be there, within seconds. All of a sudden you have pop-up windows that are just coming up and they're not professional and they don't look like they're anything that you would ever subscribe to, and you're getting them all the time. That's a problem. Or the system just crashes. That would definitely be a red flag. Or you all of a sudden get unauthorized password requests. So all of a sudden you get an email from a vendor saying, you've requested a password change, please click here. That would be a sure tell sign that someone's trying to get into that and are trying to get your credentials. So what do you do now? So now all of a sudden you are experiencing problems and you think maybe you might have clicked on something or something happened in error. What do you do? Well, first thing would be terminate any remote session. Like if you're connected back to your home office, if I was at home and I was on the VPN to Teleco, I would immediately turn that off. Next would be shut your Wi-Fi down. Get off the internet, shut your Wi-Fi down, power off your computer, and then contact your IT department or your MSP or your manager, whoever looks after that for you. And that brings us to our last question, which really is, in this next year now, after today, when you do meet with your MSP or your IT team, will you discuss cybersecurity with them as part of, that IT perspective on your network, knowing what you know now? Well, that's great. So we have a few people who've responded or at yes for 100%. And it's so important, it needs to be part of your IT discussion with cybersecurity, and there has to be a starting point. So, start talking about it now, and you don't have to do everything at once, but at least if you start the discussion now, then you know where you can build to in the future. So we do have 75% said yes and 25% with no. So thank you, Tara. So a key takeaway is, just stay cyber strong. It's not just the technology that can protect you. It's not just hardware and software. Your employees really are your first line of defense, and it is a layered approach. Educate them, train them. If they do make a mistake, though, there should be other layers in your hardware and your software that can protect you. So if all methods fail, all your critical data should still be securely backed up as part of complete protection and disaster recovery plan. So really talk to your IT team, your MTST partner today and start the conversation so you're not one of those 5 businesses to experience a breach. And honestly, it's not a matter of if, but a matter of when, and don't be that 1 in 5. We've had a ransomware attack. It's happened to us, and I don't mind saying that. It was one of our employees who clicked on a phishing. We were able to immediately shut down that PC. We got all our data back because we had a strong policy and a resilient backup plan. So we were okay, but it happens, and I don't mind talking about it. And if it can happen to us, it can happen to you. So that's it. So I just want to thank everybody for spending their lunch hour with me. I hope that you found it kind of interesting, and I welcome any questions or comments, and my information again is on there if you want to contact me directly. I'd be happy to have a conversation with you. I'll have those documents made available. Again, I will come in and do like a snack and fact cybersecurity talk with your team if you feel that there's value in that. And yeah, any questions at all, don't hesitate to reach out to me. So thank you, Tara and the Chamber, for inviting me to talk today. And thanks for sharing your lunch hour with me.
Oh my goodness, thank you so much for sharing, Penny. I have to say that I thought that I was somewhat aware, and I had a lot of aha moments throughout your presentation. So thank you so much. I think maybe even people might have heard me say, wow. Wow.
It is definitely eye-opening for sure. And even, we constantly are taking courses and training, and we used to go away a lot. I'm not sure when that will happen again, but, even myself, I would be just amazed sometimes. And the cyber criminals are just getting smarter and smarter, against us. So, we have to just keep being vigilant as well.
Okay. I have one comment, and I believe there'll be another question to come on board here. One comment says there's a lot of fake emails, such as Apple emails and Revenue Canada emails out there.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. The cyber criminals are going to try to use whatever people are, using. So those are 2 great examples. Netflix is another one. Which is why a really good security awareness training program will also mimic that, because they want it to look as real life as possible. Like TikTok, everyone's on TikTok right now. So our security awareness training actually has a phishing thing that includes TikTok. So yeah, you just have to be very vigilant and very, very careful on anything you click on.
So we have a hand raised from the Multicultural iPads, the Multicultural Association. You can go ahead. You are unmuted. You can ask a question if you wish.
Hi, Penny.
Yeah.
I know the way I have been attending this cyber strong programs and webinars for last 2 days. One from you today was excellent, and one I attended yesterday also. There was David Mohammed from who was a CPA guy, and Sergeant Paul Leroux. He's also CPA guy, and they talked about all about money mules and how the cyber attacks happen and what kind of reporting we should do. But before reporting, my question is, if you figured out, yes, well and good, like smart people, my daughter figured out that her Netflix was hacked because there were some other programs we were not on, and she figured out that those programs were launched in somehow, and we were not on those websites, like whatever TV programs or websites she was not supposed to be there, and they were added to her account. So she changed her email. But
Good.
I don't know, like there were pop-up windows on my smartphone. I haven't put it on yet, but each time it says my Gmail account is out of date. And I use my home laptop now for my multicultural job. And also right now teaching is off, right? But teaching I use to sign in. If I have to go for supply teaching, I do once a week or half a day a week for Lakehead Board. So I have to be put different hat at different times, right? So what do you suggest for that people who have two jobs or a mom's hat with a third job? How to keep an eye besides? Are you going to share all this 15 and 18 points you gave us on the website of Chamber or by email to us? That's one question.
I will send it via email, and will also have it on our website along with this video, so you could watch it again, or if you could share it with anyone else that you think will benefit from watching it. We do have a lot of people that watch it after the event, but all the associated documents will be there, and I'll make a point to also email it to all of our participants.
So we'll discussion with IT team, but what happens if something happens to your personal account? Do you do some training for that too, Penny?
If something happens to your Gmail account?
Yeah, let us say it happens to my Gmail account or happens to my teacher's account. I can contact, I think, IT of the school, right?
Yeah, you definitely, whatever network it's running on, like if it was a Teleco employee and we use Google email, so we use G Suite here, if something happened, then they would notify like us or our IT people or whoever manages your IT, and then they would address it right away. So if it was your school email, I would definitely contact whatever board you're working with, so they're aware of that. And then if it's through your other job, then you need to let them know. I would recommend a password manager for everybody. If you're not using a password manager right now, it's free. Get on there and use it, because what it does, it creates a strong password for every site that you log into. You can sync it with your mobile device as well as with your laptop or desktop. And for me, I have over 180 different sites that I access. They all have unique passwords and they're all very strong. And that keeps it very secure too. So, if there is a breach and something's found on the dark web, I know it's just that one password. Never ever use the same password for more than one login. If you're doing that right now, that's one thing I would say you need to change right away. And it may seem like a little bit of a pain to use a password manager, but once you start using it, it'll simplify your life greatly. I love it. I don't have to remember any passwords. They're all in the software. I didn't pay anything for it. It's extremely secure. It's two-factor authentication. So, to get into it, I have to receive the text. So, it's very secure that way.
Yeah, I did set up that. That is through the smartphone when they ask you, it is you that way.
No, so you might be referring to when like Google or your Chrome or your browser will keep track of your password and login. So it's not that. It would actually be like a LastPass or KeyPass. It's actual companies that what they do is a password manager software. If you want to email me, I can send you a couple examples that you can look at that are free and you can utilize.
Okay, I will email you for sure. Thank you.
Wonderful.
Perfect, thank you. And I think the point is if on your personal phone or your personal computer, you're accessing, because you have multiple hats and multiple roles.
Yes.
If personally you are hacked, and for lack of a better word, that makes everyone that you are working for vulnerable.
Yes.
Yeah, so
Okay.
a good MSP
Because
partner,
of the
yeah, will
school.
want to know, you know, what are people using at home? Are they bringing their own devices onto the network, and what does that look like?
Right. Okay. Thank you so much. And then we have some more questions here. One of them is just wondering if you do any training for personal use as to homeschooling kids who are online more, and if that might be, you know, something that you offer as a company.
Right. So we right now are all commercial based. However, we feel the information is really important. So although we won't go to your home and do a set training, there's definitely tools that we can give you to help you on your journey to be more secure.
It would be lovely if perhaps the school boards were to work with you to provide that for people, especially since their students are all online now for at least the immediate and foreseeable future of the summer.
Yeah, absolutely.
I have another question here. It says, how do you set up a password manager? I think you had mentioned that it is something that you had downloaded and it's an app, but maybe you could speak to that.
Yep. So, you know, as an example, we use LastPass here at Teleco. There are other ones that you can use. You know, and basically you just download it, and you want something that's going to have 2FA. So you want to make sure that you have two-factor authentication, and something that will sync with your cell phone as well as your desktop. So that's really important, because sometimes you might be doing stuff on your device and sometimes you might be doing stuff on your laptop. So you want to make sure that that is synced. So LastPass is a good one. There are other KeyPass is another one. So there are a few that you could definitely go ahead and download.
And I think, Penny, that is all of our questions for now. As we had mentioned before, if anybody has additional questions, please feel free to reach out to me or any of us at the Chamber, and we can forward to Penny, or to reach out to Penny directly. Thank you ever so much. This was very insightful. And then for everyone that is on this webinar, feel free to let everyone that you know that could benefit from this, that this webinar will be available on the Chamber of Commerce website. And along with the supporting documents, as well as we will send the supporting documents to you directly. And we so much appreciate this, Penny, because I think this, it was important before COVID hit, and it is particularly important now. So it is so very much appreciated that you did this for our members.
Oh no, I'm very happy to talk to all of you, and stay safe, and thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you. Goodbye,
Okay.
everyone. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Thanks, Penny.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.